Hello and welcome to the EUCF European Ultimate Championship Final Pool Reveal Show. I'm Stefan Rapazzo, and I'm here with Lincoln Murray and Benji Reese. Soon,
in a way, it feels weird to say re-establish themselves.
with pools of three, this could be a pool of death.
Dublin isn't in Ireland.
Interesting take, as always, from Lorcan Murray.
Oh,
The patron-only segment, we will elaborate upon what we are going to reveal right now, give our expert opinion and insight on some of these teams, pools, how it's all going to break down. For now, we're going to get stuck into it, but before we get stuck, Lorcan, Benji, Lorcan, how are you?
I am dying from the heat, from this seasonal back-to-school heat wave that always seems to happen in the northwest Atlantic Isles. So I'd like to get this on the road. I'm also very excited to see what the pools are. So
Yeah, looking forward to that. Benji, how's things your way?
I mean, I've melted about 5 times this week, so I had a good look at what the pools are, and then the information just seeped out of my conscious. So I'm essentially looking at these completely fresh, so I'm very excited.
Well, that makes three of us then. Let's waste no more time then. Let's get straight to this. We start in the women's division. Let's have a look. There it is, women's division. And we'll go quick look here. So 16 teams, nice and tidy. You see the defending champion there, BFD Shout, and 4 pools of 4. The top seeds get buys through to the bracket. 2s cross over for 3s to move into those brackets and seed their way into the brackets. And then, of course, once you're into the brackets, we know how that works, pyramid style, down to a championship game. So let's see these 4 pools of 4. Pool A. Ooh, what do we think here? Jinx, Dublin Gravity, Jet Set Love, and 3SB. First reactions. Benji, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Jinx are, I think, certainly the favourites in the pool. They've earned their 1 seed, a finalist at the Elite Invite, and obviously a large bulk of that German women's team that won the gold medal at EUC back in Limerick a couple of months ago, even though it only feels like yesterday. So they're a strong top seed at the start of this pool. We've seen that Gravity, when they've got everything together, they can 100% challenge at the top of this division. They're certainly not an easy out in the 2 spot. 3SB, it feels like it's not necessarily been their strongest year, but if they get things going as a 4 seed, that's pretty tough. And I feel like Jet Set Love, there's maybe a little bit less known about them as a club outfit, but again, given how we saw the Belgian women perform at EUC, I think they're a side to be underestimated at your peril.
I was going to say, to be underestimated at your peril. Thanks for finishing that off, Benj. Lorcan, anything to add to Benji's reaction?
I'm in peril.
Wonderful. Next, pool has come up in bits and pieces. Ooh, this is coming. I love the way these are popping in. Yaka, Moon Cup, Troubles, and Flame. Lorcan, how's this one look to you for strength?
I think this is a very exciting pool. Yaka semi-final or finalists, obviously last year, finalists the last 2 years, silver and then gold 2 years ago. So we all know who they are. Moon Cup are the, first off, probably my favorite female team in the whole tournament, maybe my favorite name in the whole tournament. Coming out of Brussels, the women's team from the Mooncatchers contingent, littered with talent and a couple of very exciting pickups we will get into in the Patreon exclusive as well. So I think Moon Cup could be kind of trying to sneak in there. This is going to be their first ever international tournament, was their regional qualifier, and we'll see how their second international tournament goes. I'm excited for it. Troubles, I've always been a big fan of Troubles. Love what they do. They've got some great talent on their side. Be interested to see how they get on. And then Flame, yeah, they're probably going to burn out. But I do think those 3 teams at the top of that pool, they're going to run at Yaka, probably fall a little bit short, but then will be very competitive in that 2v3 crossover.
Yeah, go ahead,
no
Benji.
Patriotism there, Lorcan. Not that strong on Flame.
Dublin isn't in Ireland.
Interesting take, as always, from Lorcan Murray.
Oh God!
He might hear about that from some of his compatriots. We will see.
There's a
We'll all
bunch-
be
There's
there.
a few pelt women playing on them as well. Oh.
But
Into the Patreon show.
I like your take. Troubles, of course, home team. I think they're not actually from Wrocław. That's Flow or Panthers.
Troubles
I think it's Warsaw.
Warsaw, yeah.
Yes, so it's not quite a home tournament, but close to home. They will have certainly very limited travel restrictions. Everybody should be there. So that should strengthen them. And yeah, what we saw of Moon Cup last week, they could push Yaka, as said by both of you, perennial, strong opposition. They're champions and runners up, and never to be overlooked. I think everybody will be swinging to try and knock Yaka off, and Moon Cup could have the best chance at this. It's a strong pool, I would say. Stronger than the first. Let's have a look at the next pool. Ooh. I mean, maybe they're all strong pools because the first one looked strong.
Welcome
too.
to the UCF, Steph. Were you not
Wait,
familiar?
it's like it's a European Championship or something coming up. I don't know. How did they all get here? Benji, kick us off with this one.
The reigning and defended champions shout, Iceni, Box, and Spice. So we got a regional rematch in there with Iceni and Spice. Iceni won their first UKU Nationals EUCR West in a good few years. So interesting to see whether they can catapult that onto the European stage. Spice, again, there's a lot of young talent on that team that is now kind of really getting to grips with playing at the elite level. They've come on leaps and bounds in the past few years. They are a very tough 4 seed. Box, I think, will be solid as ever. And for Shout, we've seen them be brilliant at times this year, and they've not been perfect. So I think if you're the other teams in the pool, that it's going to be tough, but it's not. You don't chalk it down as an instant loss. They have shown some flaws.
Lorcan, to add?
There is one giant question mark I have about Shout that I will be putting to you guys on the Patreon exclusive. But apart from that, yeah, I think Benji nailed it.
Yeah, and I think I've got a bit more for the Patreon exclusive. Otherwise, Iceni seem to be back in form. They won UKU Nationals for the first time. They seem to win it. I won't say handily, but they won with a little bit of comfort. And teams like ex-champions, that could always spell trouble when they find form again, because they do know how to win this tournament specific. Box, but one last thing before we leave the rest for the Patreon exclusive. But Box is the team that I have all year not been counting out. It could be because I have allegiance with their Toronto-based coach, Inian Murthy. He's checked in with me a couple times. He's doing his homework. Roster is tidy. They haven't quite put it all together, but each tournament is getting closer and closer. So I'm again another tough pool there. This is the European Ultimate Championship Finals. Let's check out Pool D. Benji's gonna like this pool. But we start with Lorcan here. So Lorcan, first impressions.
I'm so excited for this pool. I really, really can't wait to see what East Block do. They've got loads of talent. Some players, like we were saying about Jinx with the German team, a lot of those bronze medalists, Czech women's team, showing up for that East Block side. Tequila Boom Boom are just such a young, exciting force coming out of Rimini, along with Nicole Lafayette kind of leading the charge as well, and she was incredible at Euros. Heidi's, again, some really great talent. Vera Force probably stands out the most, but really promising. And then Bristol, where I live, and I've obviously got a lot of affection for them. Little bit worried about them going up against East Block and Tequila Boom Boom. But like you say, this is the EUCF. Like, every team's going to be top quality. So this one should be a really interesting pool.
Yeah, Bristol were bronze medalists last year in this division. So, they've shown that they can go deep at this tournament in the very recent past. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching East Block all year and will do so again. Tequila Boom Boom, maybe a little bit of a surprise package in there, but we saw them at the early stage of the year in the spring invite in Padova, and they looked pretty good there, so they could be very tidy. And Heidi's, I think they're maybe a little bit of a surprise qualifier for people, kind of knocking out their compatriots Seagulls, which I think have kind of been a perennial semi-finalist, quarter-finalists, and there is some stonking young talent on this Heidi's Frauen roster. We go more into depth into the Patreon, but this pool, I think it's the David Bowie Station to Station era pool, where you just write them on a bit of paper and throw them down the stairs, and then you see what comes up.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, when you look at the top of the pool and it's the 4-5 matchup, you right from the very top of the pool, it's already as close as two teams should be at the top. So, East Block, I'll say the name Slusta because, and I learned talking to her, I had an interview with her at the Diskin camp that her last name means fat in Czech. So I like her even more now. She's one of us now. But Slusta, an absolute spark plug. Tequila Boom Boom, not only La Fiata, but riddled with under 20 Italian players that featured in the final there. There's got to be at least 5 by my count, commentating them last week. Heidi's big names, the one biggest, you said Forsch, I say Ava Muller as well. She can just take over a game with her big throws. And like Benji said, Bristol, as much as they are, they've got their hands full as a 4 seed in this pool. They did this last year. They were underseeded last year and found a way to win their way through. So this one will be a tough one to pick. And we'll do that part once we get to the Patreon only section. So that will do it for the women's division. We don't have a full look, but I'm sure you remember all 4 of those pools. We're going to move straight along here into the mixed division, where you see there it is the exact same format. 16 teams. I'll repeat it. 4 pools of 4. The number 1 seeds move straight on through, and the 2s and 3s cross over for reseeding into the 1 to 8 bracket. Or not for reseeding, for entry into the 1 to 8 bracket. And here we go. Mixed division, Pool A. I'll let you guys read them off here for me. But let's go with Lorcan first. Why don't you take us to Pool A here?
Sure. So we're opening up with Reading, who I think looked incredible. Really impressive. They weren't too great 2 weeks ago, but I imagine it's because they'd already qualified. That's something we get into on the Patreon side of things. But they've beaten who I would consider the other 2 major threats for the title, like sincere threats for the title, in Fruit and Disconnection at Elite Invite. He also lost Disconnection. So much talent from the UK national sides at Euros, as well as a little bit of Irish in there as well. Froob, or Fran, and I feel like they call themselves Froob because there's something rude about their name. Bemble Boys just sounds inherently rude. But yeah, qualified through Spring Invite. Had a bit of an up and down season, but it'd be interesting to see how they get on. I think, again, it's one of those you underestimate them at your peril. Savage coming Poznań. I'm very excited to see how these guys get on. Like we mentioned Flo earlier on, who normally be like the main mixed team of late coming out of Poland, but Savage can be really threatening. And then Zoom qualify from the southeast region, which was largely Turkish teams. There was an Armenian, Bulgarian teams in there as well. But the top 4 were all Turkish. Zoom came out on top out of that. So interesting to see how they get on at the highest level. But I do think this group's probably going to go a little chalkish.
Benji.
Yeah, Reading, of course, the headliners with a very strong regular season, despite the underperformance at UKU Nationals, which I'm sure Lorcan can enlighten us a bit more about in the extras. But yeah, Frub won the Spring Invite, and then Savage and Zoom, I think, more unknown qualities. This is an opportunity, I think, in an expanded mixed division at UCF. We've gone up to 16 teams now, where it's been 12 in the past, which is very exciting. So it's going to give new teams and new players a chance to strut their stuff on the international stage, which I think can only be a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. One sole spot to that southeast division. that Zoom gets, so they'll be the biggest question mark. Really, we've never had a stream on them. We've had a few words and we've seen some rosters, but a lot of names that we don't know about. So it's always nice to see new inclusions. They will definitely know themselves that they've got their hands full. Savage did outperform Leftovers in their qualifications. I think it was Flo and then Savage and then Leftovers getting in. I did hear from Anna Shepard the naming, and it's named after. Oh goodness! Now that I've mentioned it, I'm going to get it wrong. But named after a gnome of sorts that is famous there. Now I think I've got this wrong. Correct me if I have. And Reading, as we said, finalist last year, but faltered at UKU, losing to a lot of unexpected opposition, we'll say. Let's move on. Pool B. Benji.
We'll start with the Germans, Disconnection. Winners just about after a sensational comeback of the Spring Invite and finalists at the Elite Invite as well. Flo, as the aforementioned, from Wrocław in Poland, the hometown heroes. Smog, never quite been able to put it together on the international stage, maybe with the pressure taken a bit off for them this year. Maybe that will provide them the opportunity to kind of maybe take some names. And then Nullacht Ultimate from Germany are the 4 seed.
And Lorcan, anything to add? Any of these teams?
The only thing I'll add for free is that I'm very curious as to what Nullacht means in German, because it means void in Irish. So,
hopefully.
Void Ultimate is the name of that club when I read it. So, I don't know what the deal is with that, but great to see him up there.
Yeah, Disconnection have looked strong all year. They've won at all the right moments. Short of that final Elite Invite that Benji mentions, where they were right there. It was there for the taking.
Apparently,
Flo, hometown.
Apparently, it means clockwork.
It means clockwork. Benji getting the answers. Ask those questions, Lorcan. We've got the man with the answers at our disposal, so keep them coming. But yeah, hometown heroes, and of course Smog, who did outperform Reading at UKU, if I am not mistaken. Reading got 4th, and Smog was 3rd. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
If I haven't, let me know.
That seems right.
But Smog still carrying that reputation of being able to perform in the UK and not quite as well while representing on the European stage. So let's see if they will be able to shake that one. And we will move on to the next pool. There it is. Back to Lorcan. Kick us off here, Lork.
So, Pool C, Deep Space from GB, Monkey Grenoble, Tartu Turbulence coming to us from Estonia. It's very interesting. And then Leftovers out of Brno. Leftovers took bronze last year after pretty consistently showing up to the UCF, but never really going too far. So they're going to be a threat. Deep Space have some fantastic players. Monkey have my favorite player in the entire division. And then Tartu, some real good talent and a bit of an unknown quality to an extent. We haven't really seen him at this level. And representing Estonia, which has got to fill him with pride and a great chance to show up on the biggest stage.
Benji, what can you add?
It's going to be interesting because I think now teams in the past we've kind of seen, we maybe weren't sure what we were expecting out of them, but again, now Leftovers, they've got that reputation of they took bronze last time out, so there is going to be a bit more of a expectation around them to perform this time around. For Tartu and Monkey, I can't remember seeing them at EUCF in the past few years, so they maybe got a point to prove. And then as well, that there is kind of Deep Space, who I think has maybe kind of been the question around them for a while of when are they going to take that next step? And maybe that time is now.
Yeah, they've just proved that point to some end and got a big win in the UK and took a home soil crown, and they're bringing that and a 1 seed besides the elite invite and spring invite seeds, but a 1 seed out of qualifying regions into the European. So, and beating everybody in the region, particularly Reading, who was touted so highly this season. I'll be very interested to see Deep Space and if they can maintain that form. Leftovers, of course, Lucia Pekarova will be there, so we will have all eyes on them and watching what that wonderful woman does. Tartu, as far as I've been told, is as close as it gets to an Estonian national team. And Monkey, all I really want to know when we get to the patron only is who Lorcan's favorite player is. So we'll find that out.
I think Benji could guess. So we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's keep moving. Here we are.
Let's start off with the headliner, the long-time champions, from, of course, the Netherlands, Lemmings of the UK, Glasgow, also from the UK, so a little regional rematch there, and Manchot, the Penguins from France. I think, understandably, coming as the favourites in the pool and arguably the entire tournament as well. Lemmings, it's after making EUCF for the first time last year, kind of built on that this year. Were very unlucky not to win the spring invite, but got a qualifying bid from that as well when Disconnection made the final of the elite invite. Glasgow, first time they're going to be back on the European stage for a few years. Interesting to see what they can do. And again, with Manshot, there's so much talent coming out of France right now. And it's a very exciting time to kind of see how that all plays out.
Talk a bit more there, Lorky.
Not a huge amount to build on there, not for free anyway. What I would say is just agreeing with how much talent's coming out of France, and we'll get into a little bit more, but just how close the qualifying process was in EUCR South in the mixed division. It was nuts. And then when you're looking at French teams and you don't see Seski there, you got to wonder what happened, but we'll get into a little bit more later on.
We will indeed. Glasgow, I was disappointed to find out that they don't have Scrooge McDuck as their logo. And Lemmings, as Benji said, Scrooge come on, he's the most famous Glaswegian that's ever graced the screen. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck's millionaire grandfather, of course, from Glasgow. Lemmings have kind of backed themselves up after kind of getting the bonus bid, second place at Spring Invite, got the bonus because Disconnection came top 2 and Disconnection was ahead of them. So their Spring Invite got nullified and Leamington took the Spring Invite bid, but they've been backing themselves up. A team that I hadn't heard too much about at the start of this year is now in the semis and in the finals at UKU Nationals. So good to see them validating their bid, and great. But we don't need to say too much more about them. We'll have a few questions in the patron only section. Manchot, I know a fair bit about what they're doing over there, and ever impressive. So we'll talk more about them in the next section as well. Hope that you are part of that. Moving on to the open division, let's have a look. This is a little bit of a different format. There are 24 teams, and they opted away from 4 pools of 6 or 6 pools of 4. The competition committee have their reasons for that, and there are 8 pools of 3. Top seeds go through automatically, 2 games on Friday and then a break, while the 2s and 3s cross over. Of course, the winners of those games go into a bigger bracket. So the bracket for women's and mixed is an 8-team bracket, a direct quarter bracket. This is a 16-team bracket, so pre-quarters, if you will. So yes, winning your pool for the open division, a big advantage. You get a game off on the first day, while the 2s and 3s cross over and slug it out and expend a little bit more energy. Let's have a look at how these 8 divisions break down. I didn't mention Ranelagh, of course, defending champions here. Pool A, let's bounce it to Benji.
Mooncatchers, maybe the favourites this year. Belgian Open won EUC, so I think everyone knows what Mooncatchers are all about at this point. Fab, Flying Angels, Burn. It's been a little over a decade since they won back-to-back EUCFs, but again, they're certainly not going to be an easy out. And Otso from Finland, kind of been a consistent European qualifier.
Lorcan, anything to add, or shall we save it for the patron only? You got any tidbits?
Otso against Fab will be an interesting matchup, but yeah, I agree. Mooncatcher's probably the favourites coming into this tournament.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is that we all know about Moon. Fab got the second qualification out of the South, while Frisbee didn't qualify, and a month before, Frisbee beat the crap out of Fab in the Swiss National Championships this year. So very interesting to see. Fab bounce back after losing the national championship, and Frisbee. Yeah. Well, I mean, which one is the right time to go to Europeans? You would believe, but there's a lot of pride in taking home those national championships as well. But if you don't feature in the big dance, that national championship trophy loses a bit of luster. Let's go to Pool B. Lorcan.
Ooh, this is exciting. Oh, this is a spicy group. I've always liked Uprising. I think they got a lot of heart. They're gonna need it. Bad Skid against Clapham. I think this smacks of Bad Skid beating Clapham in a pool game, and then Clapham still making it further in the tournament than them. But that's going to be a spicy matchup, because Clapham finally dethroned, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. So I'm very excited to see how they bounce back, because that's not really something they've ever had to do before.
Yeah.
No, this is already shaping up to be like one of those matches that you circle coming into the week. Be like, we're getting eyes on that somehow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is. Clapham has been a year that they would probably like to forget. Most other teams in Europe is a year that they would be more than happy to have. But because of how much winning they've done over the past, they've not been right at the top, and that's where we expect them. Now they come into this pool, and with pools of 3, this could be a pool of death. Again, if Bad Skid can knock them off early in the tournament, and Clapham has to play one more game on day one, could that be another difference? I got lots to say about this division. We will leave most of it for the patron only. Uprising, though, too, you said it, they've got a lot of heart, they've got a lot of height. That is a big Polish team. I remember Isno taking them on at EUCX. Yes, it was, and they were handled in that game, but I was very impressed with the amount of height that those guys had, ex-EUCF rather. And I was very impressed with the deep game that the Polish Uprising team was able to present. So, and they're going to need that with Bad Skid and Clapham in their group. So let's see what happens there. We'll talk a bit more about that in the patron only section.
Yeah, we rely a lot on our deep game. When you're playing Bad Skid and Clapham, good luck.
Yes, Steph Dosher's. He was playing both ways
you got to beat him somehow.
Yeah,
that's true. You got to trip him. Trip him is my advice.
All right, Pool C, Benji.
More hometown representation here. Panthers Wrocław. Not the pool I'd want to be the 1 seed in, given that you've only got the defending European champions Ranelagh and a former Worlds quarterfinalist in Czech. Nice easy one there for you, lads.
Yeah. You jest, but is this the Ranelagh that we saw last year? I would imagine they're going to be.
No, it isn't. Right, we know that it's not. But does that mean that? But they're still not a side that I necessarily would want to face. To be honest, this is doing Panthers a little bit of a disservice, because they are a very tight knit outfit. When they are on form, they can really they could definitely take this pool. But this is a really dirty pool. I love it.
Yeah, I think this is as well balanced anyone's pool there is that we've seen thus far. Czech did their job qualifying in a tough South Division without some of their regulars. Quentin Roger not playing with them. He'll be elsewhere. Bossel not there this year. Lapagnol not there this year. Bichon been gone for a couple of years. They've really gone down. And I said there was a lot of question marks going into that qualifying, and they got through, and they'll be tough. They're a French team that runs their systems and will be good. Ranelagh, defending champs, not quite the roster they had last year, and Panthers, the top in that division. I think that is a coin flip. Who's going to come out on top? That will be
the
one
old
of the
three-sided coin.
Yeah.
I agree with you both.
If you're gonna say systems, like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not quite as stellar a roster as last year, but it was Ranelagh's system and Sam Murphy having the game of his life. But it was that system that got them most of the way to that goal.
Yeah, they're a really well-coached group.
Really, really, yeah, tight.
So it's,
like a tiger.
There will be a drop off, but we know what the style of play is going to be like, and we know that that can propel them far. As we have a little look at Pool D.
Pool D. I'll keep looking for my three-sided coin until then.
There's two Panthers.
And we've had a Panthers versus Panthers game, which I had the joy of commentating at Spring Invite. It's very easy because it's always Panthers with the disc. But take us through this one, Larkin.
Yeah, 3SB, Alba, and Panthers Burn going up against each other. We'll see how serious 3SB's ambitions are. I know that they've got a certain... I don't know, I kind of expected a little bit more from their national side at Euros, and a good few of those players are going to be playing with 3SB, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on. I do think they deserve to be the top seed. Alba have got some strong talent, but I think, yeah, Alba against 3SB will be the ultimate equivalent of a fist fight, and then, yeah, we see how Burn do.
If they will feel the burn. Benji?
Yeah, Panthers Burn won Swiss Nationals last year, which is the first time there's not been a free speed or fab winner in God knows how long. They never kind of made that next kick on. Potentially it could be now. Arguably, 3SB were the team of the early season in the Open Division. I know that Mooncatchers won Elite Invite, but 3SB looked mighty impressive every time I saw them. They're a big physical team, and when they are pumped, they just dominate teams. They can be so much fun to watch, and it checks fast to deceive a little bit as EUC, as you said, but I kind of think they got it together at the end, so maybe if they can take a little bit of that into this, who knows? And Alba, if they play to their best, then they will absolutely cause problems at this tournament.
Yeah, I was sipping the 3SB Kool-Aid at the start of the season. I jumped off the wagon a little bit after EUCF. EUC, they didn't have Riedlo, so until the very end, he cut his throwing hand open and was out. So maybe that will account for a bit of a better performance here if they're in full health. They do look the class of this group. Again, I think I agree with you both. Alba should be fighting them for the top seed. And Panthers of Bern, they knocked off another Swiss team, Solebang, to get in the game to go in EUCR. They've got some of the Pohlmeier brothers down there, Schwartz, the left-handed distributor. They've got a lot of good parts, but they really will need everything to be firing to knock off the likes of these other two, rather. There it is. Benji, talk about it.
BFD La Fota looking to try and, in a way, it feels weird to say re-establish themselves, but last year they were, I think, comfortably the three behind Clapham and what we thought was going to be Mooncatchers, and then ended up being Ranelagh. Whereas in the past, it felt like you could just pencil them in for the final. It'd be interesting to see what they've kind of learned from EUC, maybe trying to bring some different systems and people involved, and see how that new leadership, in a way, can work. KFK, they're a little bit mercurial, I think. You kind of never quite know what to expect with them, but they've been around long enough. They were a good finisher at the World Championships last year. They're not an easy out, and people have been telling me for a good couple of years that Bristol, this is Bristol's year. Last year they got themselves into a great position at UKU Nationals and then proceeded to triple eliminate themselves, and they came one game away from doing the same thing this year. So look, I would love to see them put it all together. I think it'd be great to get a new team on a European stage, getting things clicking. But so far, there's not quite been that finishing touch.
Lork?
But it's at the end of the tournaments that Bristol kind of stumble, right? You know, nearly repeating a triple elimination would have been hilariously heartbreaking for them. I do think, you know, when their spirits are up, those rats can gnaw through more than you'd expect, and KFK need to pay a lot of attention if they want to get past the Bristol boys. But yeah, Lafada, I guess technically they're trying to reestablish themselves, but oh my goodness, that roster. So, yeah.
The one thing I'll say about the Lafota roster is it's as few external players as we've seen in a long time for Lafota. They don't like
I think that's
cover
good,
themselves in pickups like let's say Mooncatchers might or whatever, but they've always got this 4, 5, 6 very handy players on that roster. This year I think it's 3 that I read off of that roster, and so it is a very Bologna. Okay, they've got a couple external Bologna, but Italians that are regular.
I was going to ask what you counted as a pickup.
Yeah, okay, so they've got Pavan, they've got Barsazzi.
Yeah,
but this is as complete a Bologna unit as I've seen in a while at La Fota. So let's see if
in terms of international players, it's very sparse compared to how we've seen it in the past. We'll break down precisely who in the extras, but I think it's good for La Fota and just for the scene as a whole when you get those players kind of staying with their hometown clubs rather than hopping over.
Yeah, looking forward to see Rabbits after we had him in the booth at EBUCC as well for Bristol. Let's and KFK. The one thing I will say is they've got a contingent that are not natural Danes as well. We'll talk about that in the patron only section. Moving on to Pool F, Lorcan.
Well,
for
the first time ever, 12 years ago, European champions. 2 weeks ago, UK champions.
What?
Chevron Action Flash taking the top spot in this
Genuinely
group.
thought it would never happen. Genuinely thought it would never happen.
Almost sad that it happened, but almost never milked
I mean,
a cow.
it's sad. It's sad
so
that it happened when I
glad.
wasn't there. That is sad.
That's what really bothered me as well. But yeah, I got some thoughts on that. We'll see how they can translate it over. Is it going to be just one of those we've done it and they're spent kind of situations, or can they bring it gentle? I mean, they're so much fun. They're so playful. They had a fantastic run that 2 years ago, and they know each other inside and out. And then forward, I feel like forward kind of a little bit underperforming in more recent seasons, but we'll see how they can do. But this group for me is like a giant question mark. I'm not really sure how these 3 teams will get on, but I am very excited to see it.
Benj.
Agreed. Fully agreed. Like Chevron, they've done the unthinkable. Now, can they do it again? Can they repeat the once in a lifetime achievement? Who knows? Gentle, it felt like a couple of years ago we were consistently going to see them in the semi-finals. That hasn't quite happened, but there's a lot of this side that tasted gold with Belgium at EUC, so who knows if that propels them forward. And speaking of forward, yeah, kind of the stars waned a little bit, but certainly we've seen how good some of the talent can be when it all dovetails together.
Yep, agreed. Gentle. The roster looked better than the performance at EUCR, we'll say. I was just waiting for them to kind of, they lost to some strong German teams over at the EUCR, and they got in the game to go, won the game to go handily, but didn't quite bring exactly the prominent play I was imagining. Chevron, looking forward to see if they can back it up now. And forward, I think they've lost a lot of their power. Next group,
we've got Wall City from Berlin, Smashed from the UK, or Smashed, regardless however you pronounce it. We've got those guys, and Bratislava's Outsiders. I think you comfortably put Wall City as probably the favourites in the pool. Smashed, this is their third, fourth time at Euros, maybe? So now they need to be at the stage where they're not just, even though they were never quite happy to be there, they need to start making their way into those brackets and, taking some teams out on the way. For Outsiders, this is a tough pool, but again, you've had to earn your way to EUCF, so certainly it's not a free hit.
Lork?
Yeah, Wall City look to dominate. The other two are certainly outsiders who are going to try very hard not to get smashed.
Yeah, and Smash D were smashed. I think it's the same question we had with Skyed or Sky D back in the day. Who knows? But it doesn't really matter. Let's see how they play. Wall City looked good, and I think they're going to continue. I am looking forward as well to see what the Slovakians bring, especially knowing that Philip Molnar will not be there, but he may have some family allegiance running that show. Let's look at our next group. Lorcan.
I mean, this is a little bit wild and out there. Jet Set, curious to see how they will do. A lot of Belgian talent at this tournament and how it's divvied up between the different players. I would have thought Jet Set might be the weakest coming in, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong about that. We'll get into it a little bit more. MUC got some good players. I think probably challenge for the top. I think any of these three teams could get the afternoon off on Friday. Costa Rica Grande got plenty of young and exciting talent to take these on. So this one's probably maybe the most open pool in the open division.
Yeah, get that three-sided coin again. Benji?
Yeah, Jet Set qualified by winning the spring invite, which they hosted. Dan Demaray was playing with them at that tournament, and then paid for Mooncatchers at Elite Invite, and thus qualified for EUCF White. Baller move, to be honest. I fully respect it. But they're a team. Jet Set are a team that are more than just the one player. You don't win the spring invite against some of the teams you played against off the strength of just one set of legs, to be honest. MUC qualified out of a very tough region. There are a lot of teams that we could easily have seen there that didn't make it. I'm thinking chiefly about last year's semi-finalist Heidi's, which did not even make it into EUCF this time, which shows some of the strength in that region. And MUC have been, when they've got everyone fit and healthy, a really good team for a good few years. We've seen that whenever those talents have played elsewhere for the national teams as well. And I love watching Costa Rica Grandes. They're always a little bit spicy. I think that's great. They can absolutely boat race teams. I've seen it happen at this level.
And we saw it just last week at EUCR. They boat raced to the tune of 7-11, the Slurpee score final, and eliminated ISNO in an upset game to go.
Do you consider 7-11 a boat racing?
A 4-point lead in a game that only got to 11. I mean, it's a handy win. We'll say it's a handy win.
Yeah, you're beating them by more than 50%, I suppose. Yeah, that's a good point. That's the definition of a boat racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's more handy than that 15-11. The same margin, but more points scored. Anyhow, Jet Set, not just Dan Demaray. There was also Tom Blassman playing with them for the qualifying, and Luca Bouchon, who won't be there. So that team is substantially different than the one that qualified. And MUC, I mean, again, that makes this a pool that is primed for the picking. You've seen it here first on ULTI.TV, the EUCF European Ultimate Championship Finals pools reveal. With Lorcan Murray and Benji Reese and myself, Stefan Rapazzo. Thank you very much for joining us. We've had a blast. Let us know what you think. Leave your comments and voting on which games we're going to stream. We're going to put that link in the bio, the link in the description, sorry. And we have a slate of games on day one. where we're ready to see what you, the patrons, want. So get behind your home team. Maybe you want to pick just the best matchup. I don't know what you want to vote for, but you have earned the right to vote, and use that vote wisely. This is democracy, people. Patron-only democracy.
And that's never failed us in the past. Not
Democracy
certainly.
never fails. Moon Cup versus Troubles, Clapham versus Bad Skid, and then in the
I
mixed
think
division.
there are certainly a few matchups in
Monkey
each
versus
division.
Tartu. Monkey versus Tartu.
Oh, that could be like. There's so many good games in each division
so
that it's
much.
gonna be hard to pick.
gonna be
pick
good.
one.
So that's gonna be just about everything from us here at ULTI.TV headquarters, which is strewn across southern France and southern UK today, but it will be strewn further across the entire continent when we see you next at our patron-only pool breakdown.